Thank you, thank you. Hi, everybody.
Great to see you.
Thank you for having me. And as we are now the last event of this conference, I want to take the opportunity to thank everybody for being here. Thanks to all the partners, and especially those that helped sponsor this event. And most importantly, thanks to all the customers who came here. I know that your time is precious, and we appreciate that you prioritized being here. Hope this event was meaningful for everybody and that you'll be back next year.
Thank you to all of our partners and the incredible lineup of speakers.
Amazing. Yeah.
So, Camila, after day 2 now, you've been around from the get-go. How do you feel? What's your impression? Just give me a couple words.
Yeah, I think it's been amazing. This winning together, I think it's really come alive during these two days. I think the content has been really well integrated between S&P, partners, and customers, and it's been pretty seamless. The presentations to the Q&A to the spontaneous connections that I've seen people have in all the networking opportunities.
So mission accomplished, almost.
Yes, I think so.
We're not done quite yet. We do have one last highlight.
We do.
So, Camila, to that end, to announce that one last highlight, I know that you are equally excited about who we're about to bring up on stage, so I'm going to allow you to do the honors, if you like.
I think you all know who this person is because you've seen the name. She is amazing. She is an athlete. She is an author. She's a media personality. She's strong. She's resilient, intelligent, articulate, bold, all those things.
Please join us, Andrea Petkovic.
Hi.
Lovely to see you.
Hi. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for making time. And I don't think there are many athletes that are more diverse than you are. You have so many things going on, so many individual talents. And I wasn't quite aware that dancing was one of them. Did you see those moves?
I had almost forgot because when you turn 35, you forget all about the dancing. But clearly when I was young, I had a little winning dance after a bet with my coach. So that's where that all came from. But I'm not playing anymore, so that's okay.
It looked fabulous. It looked fabulous, Andrea. Now, I'm going to ask a question that I did ask yesterday when we had a conversation with Matthias Lautenschläger, and it's what the parallels are, the main parallels, because, of course, we're also here to learn from the world of sports to see what we can translate into our own businesses in the corporate world and see how we can learn from each other, basically. So what is the main parallel, or where do you see the strongest similarities between your world and, I'm going to say, our world?
Well, I actually think there are a lot of similarities. And I think I was a tennis player. I still like to say I am, but I was a tennis player. I'm not any longer. And I think people think we're in an individual sport. And we are in an individual sport. But in order to be able to play at our best, at the best level we have a team behind us.
Right.
Motto, winning together. And we are like a little CEO of our own company. I hire my coaches, I hire my medical team, I hire my fitness trainers, my nutritionists, whatever I need to be able to perform my best. And so I'm like a little manager of my own thing. And the tricky part is with the coaches, because I hire my coach to be the authority over my game, which can be tricky. And so I always tell them, and we heard it before from Dr. Auma, it's important to be a leader, but also to let yourself be led, right? So what I tell my coaches when I hire them, the first thing I tell them, you have to be always honest with me. I will get angry at you when you are, but just let me cool off for a day or two and I will come around, I promise. And I always did, and I had really long relationship with my coaches always. And that's something I really took with me to my next life, that kind of leading, but also having others lead you.
I know they always say communication is key, and it's kind of cheesy, but it's just true. That's why we like to hang on to that saying, communication is key. And you speak very openly and honestly. Is that one of the parallels that you would see perhaps in the way that you act with your team, Camila?
Yeah, I think so. And I think there are parallels from our perspective as well. And I think it's, first of all, for the individual, the professional, to think of themselves as an athlete and always learn, always try to be better, critique yourself. yourself and really hone your craft, whatever that is. That may not be a sport, it could be something else. And then I think the business world is a team sport as well.
Right. Yeah.
So everything you mentioned, everybody, your coaches, et cetera, that are working with you to help you. In the business world, you often see the people on stage, you see the salespeople, et cetera, but you don't see all the people in mission-critical roles that are walking alongside and behind the scenes and really helping everybody deliver meaningful products or solutions to our customers at the right time.
So when it comes to being successful and growing, and I always say outperforming the competition because I always see that as one of the most important factors. We all want to be the best of the best at what we do and in our individual fields. How do you make all of that work under pressure? Because that itself is pressure enough, but then you have these games where everything is at stake, or had these games where everything was at stake. How do you function under so much pressure? Do you have rituals? Do you have a trick up your sleeve that we can copy paste?
Well, I will say one thing that everyone will be really upset with me because it's not an easy trick at all. But I will also give you a few tips and tricks. So the one thing I always say, you just have to do it. And that's the worst kind, because you just have to put yourself in the situation over and over and over again. And I always tell this anecdote. When I started playing tournaments when I was 12 years old, I would throw up before every single match. That's how nervous I was.
Really?
That's how scared I was to lose. And after a few weeks, I stopped throwing up. I was still nervous and sweating and fidgety. I couldn't sleep the nights before. And after a few weeks, that stopped too. So just putting yourself in the situation over and over again, trusting the human that they will adapt to anything in the world. And I think that's really key. At one point, you develop resilience and you develop an innate trust in yourself that you will adapt to anything. There are injuries, there are tough parts in matches, and you overcome everything. And even if you don't overcome, you will learn something from it. And I always say that's one thing that I always repeat over and over again. There are no losses, there's just learnings, right? There are only learnings. So every loss, I actually learned more from losses than from winnings. Winnings were very nice. I would just go home and feel great about myself, but I didn't actually learn anything from it. And losing, and I lost a lot. That always helps to keep developing.
So basically you're saying, Andrea, choose that one situation that you're scared out of your guts of, and then go do it.
I think so. I think so. But I also
tough.
promise, it is very tough, but I also promise to give you a few tips and tricks. And I think it changed a lot. When I started, which was 20 years ago, when I started on tour, it was like, you just have to be hard, you have to be tough, you just have to go through it. Just don't complain, don't explain, just continue it. And there's some truth to it because you are in a high performance environment, right? You are playing against the best women in the world. I was in the locker room with the best women in the world every single day. I looked into their eyes, I warmed up next to them, I saw what they eat, I saw everything, and I learned a lot from it. But in the end, you have tools and skills that you can do. You can meditate, there is training, there is mental training, and one thing that we always do, it's very simple. You try, it's like the pink elephant in the room. When you feel pressure, when you feel like you have to succeed, don't focus on that. And that's easy to say, that doesn't work, don't focus on this, doesn't work, but focus on something else. So for me, it would always be either my breathing or my feet, because in high performance sport, the first thing that goes away is the fine coordination. You can still sprint, but the fine coordination, the small little footworks, the hands, the acceleration, all that goes away. So if you focus on those little details, your mind has to focus so hard that it doesn't have any time and any energy left anymore to focus on the pressure. So you trick yourself a little bit. Sometimes you have to trick yourself, and I did that a lot.
We're learning a lot right here. Camila, do you have any type of ritual, or, I mean, this sounds like self-therapy almost, I'm gonna say. Do you have any rituals not only for yourself when you're dealing with a lot of pressure, but when clients are really demanding or deadlines are really tight? I mean, you don't need me to tell you, you have a lot of this on your hands. There's a lot on your plate. How do you deal with this and also support your team mentally and emotionally?
Yeah, I think it's important to remember what we do, and that is really exciting, and it's a privilege. We get to walk aside, lie aside, aside with customers in really important transformative projects that are meaningful for their business, and that's a real privilege. So remembering that, first of all, and then I also think it's really important to love what you do. And that's something for me and for my team. To always be growing, being challenged. I know you're all in projects, and it's hard to take your eyes off the screen, but it's important to do that and think about, what do I need to learn next? What's going to challenge me, et cetera. There's a saying that I really like, which is, success doesn't bring happiness. Happiness brings success. If you really love what you do, then you will do it well, and you will be successful. And there was also a quote this morning from Gordon that I remember that I really like as well, which is, pressure should never exceed pleasure. So you should always love something more than the pressure it gives you.
And just to add on that, Billie Jean King, one of our great tennis players who really transformed women's sports in general. Without her, there wouldn't be professional women's sports as we know it today. She's a great advocate, a great politician as well. And Billie Jean King always said, pressure is a privilege. Because why do you have a situation with pressure? Because you've built a career in a way that you have the privilege of having pressure. The 300 in the world doesn't have pressure, but the number one in the world, everyone is hunting the number one in the world, and he or she always has pressure. And so pressure is a privilege. You are in the situation that you have a lot on your plate because you have a lot of clients that want something from you. And if you can remind yourself of why do you have the pressure, because you did something well in the first place, I think that's really important.
And you have that much to lose. If you had nothing to lose, if nothing were at stake, then you would not feel that pressure. So pressure is privilege. Okay, noted. Daily mantra. Now, closing, since I'm afraid we are running out of time. Is there one specific, just really briefly, one lesson that you've learned from each other, or that you would say you've learned from this world, from the sports world, and vice versa from the business world? Camila, would you like to go first?
I mean, I think in just watching you, not just today, but watching you from other interviews and things in the past, I think always growing is really important, and never being satisfied, not being stagnant, just always evolving, learning new things and moving forward. Not spending so much time looking back. I know you talked about when you make mistakes, that's important. But not dwelling in that, but just really moving forward. So I think that's something that we can all learn from you.
I love that you have a clock here that is, I thought you would play, at the Academy Awards, they play the music that is like getting you off the stage. You just have a red clock ticking at me.
It's so subtle, right?
Good.
We're done now.
Did you have the same thing?
No, she was on time. She's not like us. She was on time.
Okay.
She never saw the red. She was in the green, right?
I see. So this is only for the people who...
just for us,
The one thing I will say, and I will keep it very, very brief, the one thing I will say what sports, I think, learned a lot from business is data and data analysis. I think 20 years ago when I started, a lot of things were done by instinct, or like, I just feel better this way, and it just feels right, when in reality, numbers and stats would say something different. And I think that's something that has changed really drastically, and I want to say the last 5 to 10 years, and something that I think sports took from the business world and is doing better for it.
To help you keep that holistic, neutral view on yourself and your performance.
And to also to believe your coach when he tells you you're doing that wrong, and you're like, no,
liar.
but it feels good. And then he's like, and now he has the numbers to prove that you are actually doing it wrong, and then you have to begrudgingly agree with him.
And
or
practice
fire
acceptance.
him, which is also great.
Because you're the boss at the end of the day. Authority versus boss. Okay. All right, we're going to try to wrap our minds around everything we've just heard. I think we have a lot of food for thought right now. Thank you so much for helping us end this day. And, well, the Transformation World 2024, we ended with 3 strong women. We're going to close with a strong man. But we already ended this part with 3 strong women. Thank you so much once more to Uma. Thank you for staying for our last slot, actually. And thank you to Camila Dahlen. And thank you to Andrea Petkovic. Let's hear it, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Danke.